So I'm recording this class now. Everything I say from now on will be recorded. I'll pass out a link if I can get it up into YouTube. So you probably won't want to see it again, but if you do, you will be able to see it again. And I wanted to start out, I would like to eventually teach it in a business environment. And I wanted to go over a study that was done in England about meditation. And they taught meditation in a company in England, and the number of days off for stress, anxiety, and depression fell by 71% over 3 years. Employee absences fell by 50% over that time. 80% of the participants reported improvements in their relationships. 79% reported improvements in their ability to relax. 64% reported improvements in sleep pattern, 53% reported improvements in general work satisfaction. And you can find these figures actually on the internet if you Google Mindfulness at Work by Anna Black. And what I hope in doing this, by the end of this day, even if you've never meditated, even if you you've never heard about meditation before, when you understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how it works, these won't seem like magic numbers. It'll seem like something that can really happen. Today, what I'm going to cover is what I see as the problem, what inhibits our resilience and growth, and talk about overall what we're going to be doing, and it's positive psychology. And the goal, I want to distinguish between the goal of this is that we have a sense of well-being. That's really what all this does. The meditation is a technique that helps us achieve that goal. So I don't want to advertise this as a meditation class. It's a coping with stress class. It'll help you cope with stress. It will help you cope and have a sense of well-being. So there's a purpose for doing it. And I want to start out with a guided meditation that'll help you get a sense and hopefully relax you and get a sense of what meditation. All of the people in this group, right, have done something like this. I won't spend a lot of time, but it's helpful in going through the class for you to be more relaxed, calm, and focused. And it's the training wheels meditations I've done before, and I'll guide you through it. If you'd like to, sit in an erect and dignified posture, feet flat on the ground. Allow your back to be straight. And first of all, begin to breathe long, slow, and deep. As long and slow and deep as you possibly can. Just breathing long, slow, and deep triggers the relaxation response, allows you to calm down, will help you feel more comfortable and relaxed. And the next thing I'd like you to do as you're breathing long, slow, and deep, count on the in-breath and count on the out-breath. As you breathe in, for me, I count to about 5. As I breathe out, maybe 7 or 8. But whatever number you do is okay. Breathe long, slow, and deep. Count as you breathe long, slow, and deep. Counting will take your thinking mind, stop it from thinking any negative thoughts, and help it get focused on present moment experiences. Breathing long, slow, and deep triggers a relaxation response. Counting shuts down the thinking, complaining, worrying, catastrophizing mind, shuts it down, and keeps it active with counting. And now, in addition to counting, in addition to breathing long, slow, and deep, what I'd like you to do is, as you breathe in, focus on your nostrils as you breathe in. I'd like you to breathe out through your mouth and focus on your lips as you breathe out. See if you can feel the air going out through your mouth. Possibly you may feel some moisture, dampness in the air. Possibly you may feel some warmth. Breathe long, slow, and deep. Count as you're breathing. And notice the sensation of your air coming in through your nose and out through your mouth. And now, the training wheels meditation. We're using skillful means to keep our mind focused. The counting is skillful means, and the long, slow breath are skillful means. First of all, just stop counting. First of all, just stop counting. Now stop breathing long, slow, and deep. Now, just two things. You're breathing naturally, and you're focusing on your nostrils as you breathe in, and your lips as you breathe out. And this is meditation without training wheels. It's being in the present moment, fully attached to the sensations of breathing. And now what I'd like you to do is smile. Say to yourself, thank you, thank you, thank you. And think about the things that we're grateful for or that you are grateful for. And think about the people you are grateful to. And now check in with yourself. How do you feel? Are your muscles tight or loose and relaxed? Are you calm? Are you peaceful? Are you optimistic? Are you confident? How do you feel? Check in with yourself. And when you're ready, wiggle your toes. Stretch out your legs. If you like to, reach over your head and stretch out. And if you feel comfortable, allow your eyes to open. John Palmer, I wanted to let you know that I made a mistake and muted myself for part of it. I think I understand how to work it now. And if you need to talk, either speak into the phone or wave your hand and let me know. And I'm getting some background noise from you, so I took you off of speakerphone. So if you say something, I might not hear you. But if you raise your hand and need to speak, if you need to say something, let me know and I'll. Okay, now I can hear you. Go ahead and say what you need to say.
I said, I'm glad to be here with you all today.
Okay, good. We can hear you. Just let me know as you want to speak, raise your hand and I'll put you on speakerphone so we can hear you. Okay, thanks. I want to do a brief summary of what we just did, but we did a combination of two things. One was a formal meditation practice. And that was when we were doing the long, slow breath and counting. And it's in the integrate and embody, it's something I'm encouraging people to do 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night. And it relaxes your body. You can stop the story and uncalm the body. What we did at the end was a gratitude practice. You can do this throughout the day. If you ever notice that you have an emotion being triggered, when you're about to do something stressful, you can go ahead and do it. But by the way, I have everybody muted right now. So if you need to speak, you may have to unmute your phone. But it's an aspirational, informal practice. We're really trying to nurture ourselves with some positive thoughts to counterbalance the negativity that usually comes up. It's nurturing. We can just do it for a minute or two throughout the day. So the integrate and embody is 5 minutes of meditation in the morning, 5 minutes at night, and 5 one-minute practices throughout the day, just 15 minutes a day. Now, I'm going to play a clip from the Bridge of Spies, which gets into kick off what a problem is that I think we all have. Tell me if you have any trouble listening to it, okay?
How did we do? Not too good. You're not an American citizen. That's true. And according to your boss, you're not a Soviet citizen either. Well, the boss isn't always right, but he's always the boss. You never worry. Would it help? How did
I don't know. How many people heard that clip well? Raise your hand if you heard the clip. Could you hear it? Okay, at least one person heard it. Let me tell you a little bit. This is from a movie, Bridge of Spies. How many people have seen the movie, Bridge of Spies? Nobody? It's about a Rudolph Abel, who was a spy for the Soviet Union. His lawyer was James B. Donovan. And scene one that we saw, actually we didn't see this scene yet, but he's meeting the lawyer. Donovan explains that everyone in the US wants him executed. Abel has no emotional response, and Donovan says, "You don't seem alarmed." And Abel said, "Would it help?" Another clip in the movie, which I didn't show, is at the end of the film, Abel is being exchanged for another prisoner. He's going to be sent back to Russia. When you return to Russia, they might shoot you. Abel again has no emotional response. Donovan, you don't seem worried. Abel said, "Would it help?" And the scene that we saw, he's in being tried. Donovan's telling him the trial's not going well. And Abel has no response again. And he says, "Don't you ever get anxious?" The point is, we worry, we get anxious. All of us do that. And it doesn't do us any good. It's debilitating. It hurts us. So the problem, one of the problems that meditation and positive psychology are trying to deal with is we have a problem. Things like the virus will happen. All of us will get ill. We may have personal loss. We may have financial failure. There's old age, sickness, and death. Unfortunately, our instinctive reactions to all of this is often fear, anxiety, reactivity, a sense of helplessness, and often we blame other people for it. The point being is when we have problems, our human nature is to do all these things that are literally self-destructive. So in addition to the problem we have a negative, it changes our disposition. We have a negative response to it. And the question asked in the film, and the question we need to ask ourselves whenever we're aware of what's going on in our mind, is, are our reactions helpful? Can we be conscious enough and aware enough that we'll ask that question? Are our actions helpful? Christianity has another way of essentially getting at that same point through the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And the point is, if we step back and we are conscious, throughout the day, there are things we cannot change, we can't do anything about, but we lose our serenity, we get upset about it, we tell ourselves a story, and we make ourselves miserable. And if we are conscious and if we're aware, these little things like red lights, traffic jams, or spilled milk, when they happen, we don't have to react. We don't have to ruin our disposition. We don't have to ruin our attitude. So the challenge is, how can we, who normally react, overreact, and catastrophize, how can we stop doing it? And it's meditation and mindfulness that's really the skills that are doing this. We're not trying to teach you meditation so you'll be a good meditator. We're trying to teach you meditation so that you'll have the awareness and self-discipline to stop destructive thoughts. And we are wired to be Velcro for negative experiences, Teflon for positive experiences. We did in the guided meditation a gratitude practice. And each night before I go to sleep, I try and get a list of the things that I'm grateful for. And what I found is when I go to sleep, before I go to sleep, I may be upset about something. But if I force myself to think about what's going on throughout the day, what's happened, there's so many wonderful things that I've ignored or forgot. I don't think about them at night. It's only the difficult things. When we are an animal, gone through evolution, and for reptiles, when they saw a problem, they needed to react quickly. They needed to get the adrenaline flowing. But now we get adrenaline flowing if we spill milk or get a red light. We do bad on an exam. We make a mistake. So our heart's beating fast. Our minds are racing with negativity. And this is kind of a more detailed description of what we wind up doing, what happens. Everybody, this is in yellow, everybody has unwanted circumstances, red lights, flat tires, financial difficulties, problems with friends and family. This is in yellow. We can do nothing about it. This is guaranteed to be in your life. But when that happens, we start off a cycle that becomes debilitating. First of all, we judge and label it. We say it stinks. I don't like it. Then often we blame ourselves or blame others. If we blame others, we get hatred and anger. If we blame ourselves, we have guilt and shame. If we see something wrong, we have fear and anxiety. All of this drives adrenaline, gets our heart rate up, and our blood pressure up. Then there's always a story associated with that. I'm no good, others are evil, my life is ruined, if only they should have done this, why aren't they like that? And we don't live in reality, we live in this story that keeps playing in our head over and again. And it diminishes our reasoning capability. When we don't think clearly, we do self-defeating behavior. When we do self-defeating behavior, we've created our own problems. An example I have is you get a flat tire and you get angry enough at the flat tire and kick it, you could break your toe. But at a minimum, what happens over and over again is you knock down your sense of well-being, your optimism, and you're unhappy. And this is how we were socialized. From the time we were a little kid, we were told we needed to be perfect. We shouldn't make mistakes. That things shouldn't happen to us. So these two things in yellow are things that are out of our control. But this judging, labeling, blaming, this whole cycle is in our control. We can stop the labeling and judging. We can stop the blame. We can stop the adrenaline. And the kickoff meditation we did, we actually were stopping the adrenaline by just breathing long, slow, and deep. And what's very interested, Judy, you have a question? Go ahead. Unmute yourself.
There's something with your microphone right now or your voice that every time you say something, it's making a sound. So I think it won't hold up well on your recording, and it's harder to listen to. I don't know what it is, but.
I have the microphone closer to my mouth. Does that help?
That's all right now, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, thank you.
But I've noticed with myself, maybe other people are that way. When I'm angry, I have been wounded. I have a right to be angry. And I really don't care that my response isn't helpful. I feel justified. And one thing I can see in me and I see in other people is if I'm wounded, I get self-righteous. And that just shuts down my thinking mind. I lose control when I get self-righteous. And I don't care about the reaction being self-destructive. And this is the human instinct. This is what meditation and mindfulness is about. It's about cultivating awareness, which is recognition of what's going on, and agency or constructive response to these negative situations instead of negative responses. And this is a quote I love that summarizes, no one, no thing can take your peace, your joy, your adequacy away from you. You have to give it up voluntarily. And we give it up so easily for just about anything. Other people's opinions, late meals, long lines, red lights. And this has a snowball effect. You know, you have a red light at the beginning of the day, traffic jam little, and then eventually your heart's beating fast all day long and ruining your system. But I want to point out something else. When you get angry, when you have fear, when you have anxiety, don't get angry at your anger because you're only learning anger. Don't be afraid of your fears because you're only going to be having fears. Treat all of these things as welcome guests. They're not always bad. Sometimes all of these negative emotions that I'm talking about can motivate you to take constructive action. And the question that came up earlier that Abel had said is, would it help? The question is, when these negative emotions, what will they cause you to do? What do they stop you from doing? Fear can cause you to work harder and plan better. Some level of fear is good for you. It motivates you. It's great. But if that fear becomes too great, it'll paralyze you. And what do we need to understand to stop this is two things. Awareness that we're frightened, and agency to figure out what can we do constructive. If we're frozen, we realize we're frozen, let's do something about it. And anger, like fear, can inspire you to fix problems. But the whole thing is awareness allows you the time to ask yourself, what is it causing you to do? What is it stopping you from doing? And take constructive action. And I'll give an example. This is a senior center, and maybe you've seen this happen. I'd like to teach this course in a business environment, so I'm using a business example. And maybe this has happened to you, maybe it's happened to me. If it's happened to me, I won't admit it. Or I won't brag about it, but everybody who works feels that they work hard, they deserve a promotion, they deserve a raise, and life's not fair. They should have gotten the promotion earlier. They should have gotten a bigger raise, and it's not fair. And we can always compare ourselves to others. It could be someone else got a promotion, we didn't. We know we worked harder than them. But all that does, comparing ourselves to others, often gets us just more agitated. We can, if we're self-reflective, and what I've seen in myself and others is sometimes with career, we have unrealistic expectations. One of the things I discovered actually was through meditation, but hello? Stan, do you have a...
No, I was just getting unmuted.
Okay, no problem. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you.
I'm muting everybody. If you need to ask a question, raise your hand. Otherwise, there'll be a lot of background noise, and I'll try and keep my eye on you. But unrealistic expectations and comparisons sometimes cause a lot of the problems. And when you feel that you're cheated, you have this storyline, I work hard, I'm productive, I deserve a promotion. I have seen this, and I have to be honest, it's happened to me. You get a chip on your shoulder. Or I've seen other people with a chip on their shoulder. And then what's happened is you want a promotion, you didn't get the promotion, you got the chip on your shoulder because you weren't aware of how negative it is. And eventually, I was an employee, I had a chip on my shoulder. Eventually, I was able to get rid of the chip on my shoulder, and eventually I was able to become a manager. And then I want to give you another perspective of this problem. I used to have employees that walk into my office and say, if I don't get a promotion, I will quit and go to your competition. I've had another employee come into my office and said, what are the things that I can do to improve my skills and performance so that I can be better contribute to the organization? And I was a manager, and I had to decide which of these two people I'm going to promote. It is really ironic. I was a manager, and I felt every person in my unit deserved a raise. Every person deserved a promotion. Unfortunately, I couldn't do it. And what became our attitude and disposition can be the biggest barrier to our own success. And there's a lot of different perspectives. The employee's perspective is I work hard and deserve a raise. And it's true. Everybody in there that felt they deserved a raise did deserve a raise. They should have gotten it. I was a middle manager, and I had to grade on a bell-shaped curve. So I couldn't give everybody that worked for me a 1. I couldn't give everybody a big raise. I was restricted. But the corporate funding wasn't there. I wasn't mad at the employees. I'm mad at my boss because there wasn't more funding. I never became the chairman of the board of the company I worked for, but I had a friend of mine that was a chairman of the board of a large company with 200 employees. And I told him how frustrated I was with the restrictions I had on raises and promotions. And the person that I spoke to says, I own this company. I'd love to give people more raises. But if I gave everybody a 5% raise, our company would have lost $2 million last year. And I can't run the company like that. I worry every day, will I be able to make payroll the next month? And we don't. We have unrealistic expectations. We compare ourselves to others, and then we get a chip on our shoulder and we're ruining our career chances. And sometimes the biggest problem can be your chip on your shoulder. And there's an old Indian saying, you don't know another person until you walked 1,000 miles in his moccasins. I just gave an example of a boss and employee. And trust me, if you ever get promoted to be a boss, you'll see another side to this. Also, any of you that have had children, you've been a child and you've been a parent. And when you become a parent, you see what a difficult position your parents were in. You know why they did the things that they do, but as a child can't have the perspective of a parent. The parent doesn't remember the perspective. Hopefully they remember the perspective of a child. The father wants to protect their children. The children want to be independent and on their own. And there's conflict. They love each other, but it doesn't work out. Husband and wives, I won't go into more detail on that. And always there's the other. People who have different political views, different religious views. You just can't put you understand where they're coming from. I also want to talk about quitting your job. I don't want to make it sound like every employee that wants a raise is wrong. Sometimes people really should quit. I have worked with some people that were mentally ill, definitely mentally ill. People quit and got better jobs. And that does happen. I don't know. I have also some colleagues of mine quit in really difficult times about not getting a big enough bonus. And then they go to a company where they start out with a big salary and the company goes under and they never find a job as good as the one that they had that they quit. That happens sometimes. Some people are mad at every boss they get and they go from job to job. That happens. And the title of this foil is discernment. You know, are your expectations realistic? Are you being patient? Are you being diplomatic? Are there better options outside your company? But it never, ever, ever hurts you or the company to maintain a positive attitude as long as you are there. And I'm talking about company employee. I could do this and could doing about husband and wife. You know, should you leave a marriage or whatever? I can't tell you. You know, sometimes people should leave and they don't. Some people don't leave and they should. You know, some people leave and they shouldn't. You know, it's just really hard. And actually, particularly for marriage, it's very good to get counseling. You just can't see you're contributing. And on a personal note, I have gone through counseling. I felt I have a very solid marriage. I didn't go there for counseling, but I did learn there were a lot of things I was doing that wasn't hurting, that was not helping my marriage. And I thought I'm Mr. Perfect, and I'm not. And you just can't see. We can't see our own foibles. In summary, what's the problem? Our mind can be our best friend or our worst enemy. The solution to this is what of positive psychology, and it's a marriage of Western psychology and Eastern techniques. There's a book out that we covered in our group called Resilient by Rick Hansen. It's preventative. You avoid depression. You don't wait till you have it to treat it. You go there when your marriage begins to have trouble, so it hasn't reached the point of self-destruction. Prevent it. Try and do it early. And to summarize what it is working in all the dispositional characteristics that create resilience, a positive attitude, of a sense of well-being, calmness, confidence, optimism, gratitude, self-compassion, compassion. All of these things are what's needed. And you can build on these things and learn from them. And so I want to clarify again, and I said it before, meditation is just a technique. It's not the goal, it's a technique. It's difficult to do. People don't want to do it. But what it gives you, the reason for doing meditation, is to help you cultivate this sense of well-being so that in spite of difficult situations, you'll be able to respond constructively. And what we're trying to do in these series of 4 classes is build up skills step by step. The first, we're going to build up through meditation, and that's awareness, recognition of the problem. When you meditate, we're creating awareness. The second thing what we want to do is cultivate the ability to, once we're aware that we have a problem, to take agency and wind up taking responsibility for it and doing what we can to deal with it. We have to be disciplined to be aware and to take constructive action. We also need grit and confidence, gratitude and humility. Psychological insight can help, people skills. And it can be helpful. We need to be able to strive to make things better. But it's so much more helpful if we become goal-oriented. Trying to, and instead of being goal-oriented, be value-oriented. And where this comes in the workplace, if you try and learn your skill and be the best at whatever you're doing, and be constructive contributor in the environment that you're working at, it'll increase the chances that you can be successful in your job and that you will get promotions. But you focus on that skill, don't focus on when am I going to get the next promotion. Just keep trying to improve yourself, and the better you get, the more likely it'll be that you get the promotion. And you need patience too. And it's meditation that builds these lower 2 skills, aspirational practices throughout the day, these micro practices of gratitude that we've learned, and we'll eventually go over grit and confidence. And then thinking about people skills and how you communicate effectively with other people. So the goal is consciousness and awareness. If we can become aware that we're catastrophizing, exaggerating, ruminating, and dramatizing, and blaming, and hateful, and anger, this gives you time, that pause, to take constructive actions. Again, anger, fear, those aren't problems. Being aware of them and making sure it's what it causes you to do or stops you from doing. Fear can paralyze you and stop you from taking. Then fear is not helping you, but gives you time to analyze, what do I need to do? What is constructive? And your disposition's your responsibility. You can't change illnesses, you can't change the COVID, you can't change a lot of things. The world is not fair, and I'll bet everybody in this room can give a list of things, all the people attending can give a list of things that has bothered them. But if you can focus on your attitude, keep that positive, that will give you the energy. And I think for me and for a lot of people, a lot of the problems aren't our responsibility. There really are people that messed up. And if they hadn't messed up, we wouldn't be here. But being angry at them, it's not helpful. It's just not helpful. And for us to destroy our sense of well-being because they did something bad, we're hurting ourselves. It's like shooting ourselves in the foot if someone else does something wrong when we mess up our disposition. And positive psychology gives a toolkit. And again, this is kind of repeating at a high level that other diagram of the pyramid building up. But first of all, we need a grounding skill, a fundamental skill of meditation, so we can build up awareness and a sense of mental discipline. Mindfulness, we need, once we've got this, we need to apply it day to day by being mindful of what we're going on. We sit on the pillow, get happy and feel calm, and then we say, finally, we're off the pillow. I can be as angry as I want for the rest of the day. That's not good. Then we have to really constructively, for things we are challenged with, circumstances outside our control, we need to be proactive, let go of the anger so we can focus on solutions. And with people, difficult people we're dealing with, we got to build our own people skills. How can I communicate with this person that'll decrease the amount of damage that they'll do to me? Make the best out of this situation. Often the people that annoy us are people like your boss that you can't get rid of, or other people that we, like family, that we just, we're stuck with to some extent. And maybe at some point we should break off communications. And again, it breaks up into two categories where our meditation cultivates the recognition and regulation, and the aspirational practices are nurturing. And we wound up studying, and this can be a micro practice, informal practice. You feel emotional, triggered. Wow. Number one, recognize, I've been triggered. There's emotion here. When it happens, don't treat anger, whatever the emotion is. This is part of life. I'm going to be angry. It's going to happen over and over again. It's just part of life. Don't get angry at anger. Don't be afraid of fear. Usually our reaction, the not allowing it, is triggering a rejection. This is, we're triggering hate, or we're triggering something. If you're not allowing it, what you're doing is creating a reactivity. It's either anger or hate, anger at the anger, or hatred at the hatred, but it's not helpful. We need to allow it. And then I see this as grounding, where the I is investigate. How do I experience in my felt sense of the body? And if we can get our mind off of the rumination and exaggerations, and we get into a felt sense of the body, it can help calm us down. When we're calmed down, we can nurture ourselves. We can start thinking about things like gratitude. We can feel that we have got the confidence to handle it. We can start nurturing ourselves. It's okay. I can handle it. I've handled things like that. And nurture yourself. And so this cycle can be triggered. And then when we're in the right position, we can do constructive, proactive things. And what happens, it's meditations like surfing. When we first do it, maybe little things like red lights and traffic jams we'll have to work with. But bigger and bigger things, when they happen, we just don't get upset. That's what I've experienced. I haven't had any great out-of-body experience or anything like that, but I have known slowly but surely over many years, I'm just much less reactive. It just takes a lot more to trigger a violent reaction. And people will say things that I don't like or do, and just, it's okay. It's in spite of adversity, maintaining your balance. Over time, you can handle bigger and bigger waves. And sometimes the issues are personal with relationships, and one of the classes will be covering that. Oh, these skills, it doesn't matter whether it's for your personal life, for your spiritual journey, or for your business. Awareness, concentration, agency are needed in every one of those aspects of your life. And I think as complements other ways, I do believe if you have a strong religious tradition that you follow, it can be inspiring. It can give you confidence, a sense of well-being, of faith. Stoicism is a philosophy of life, and Buddhism is very similar to that, of no matter what happens, how can I improve it? I mean, it really is that, it's really expanding out on the serenity prayer of Christianity. It is all about, if you can't do anything about it, just don't get upset. Psychology can help you deal about it. It's cognitive therapy, questioning your thoughts. All of these are ways that can help. They're mutually supportive and compatible. I think that meditation could help assist and work with any of these others, because if you can use meditation to calm down, then you can open up more to your religious tradition or stoicism, and you'll have mental discipline. It's supportive of all of those. One of the other things is the foundation of this is meditation. And the people that say they can't meditate is, I can't meditate, my mind wanders. This training wheel, meditation, that I taught at the beginning of this, and I keep teaching with our group, makes it easy to stay focused because you're doing so many things. The training wheels, the counting keeps your mind from talking. The breathing long, slow, and deep helps with your, so this is one thing that can help. It takes too much time. This integrate and embody program that I'm going to give you after this class, it's just asking for short meditation practices. You can do micro practices throughout the day, so time does not become a problem. I'm not asking people to do 30 minutes or 20 minutes of a guided meditation. So the program I have is made up of formal meditations. Mindfulness will go into more detail in future weeks, aspirational practices, and micro practices. And then I've come up with a program to integrate and embody. I'll be able to mail it to the whole group, the same distribution list. And it's optional, you don't have to do it. But I really would like feedback, because I'm going to try and do this when I teach this again, give it out to another group of people. I'd like to get your feedback. And each day there's a separate question related to what we just studied. When you have an emotion, are you aware if it's helpful, or, are you unrealistic expectation? So it gives you a chance to practice these things. And again, at the beginning of the class, I talked about all these numbers. And when you really do wake up and you get a good night's sleep and you have these tools to fall asleep, you are less likely to respond to your spouse and business partners less reactively. It can really help in all these areas. And I hope that what I've gone through, it makes sense now why and how this works. And now everybody's muted. Again, there's a lot of background noise. If you just raise your hand, if you want to speak, let me ask John Palmer to speak first if you've got any questions, because you're the most difficult person to manage with the muting and unmuting. Go ahead.
Well, I've certainly been able to hear everything you said very clearly, and I apologize for whatever I didn't do correctly to get involved. I'm sure it's something that I've done.
Okay.
So I'm not going to, we'll worry about that another time, but in going over the material last evening, I had several questions, but I realize now I had them on my laptop, and my iPad, and I can't get to it right now because I've got you on the screen. So
Okay.
I said, well, I'll talk about this tomorrow. That's kind of confounded me on the process. How do you get from here to there? But I'll.
Well, but by the way,
better know the next time.
okay. By the way, as a technical solution, one of the things you can do, I can leave you on this, and I don't have any more slides to show. So you can just stay with me by being on my cell phone. You can shut everything else off, look at your iPad, and I'll come back to you later and ask you if you have any questions.
Okay, fine. That would work fine. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go down my screen, and Annie, do you have any questions or comments? And if you want to, you need to unmute. I just unmuted you. Annie, do you have any questions or comments? It's okay if you don't.
No, I don't have.
Okay, Matthew, any questions or comments?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Johnny, you any questions or comments? John, let me unmute you.
So, I guess I've been doing a little meditation for quite a while and practicing this stuff. Certainly have a hard time following a daily routine, especially the one that you just outlined at the end. Try 5 minutes a day, three times a day, and figuring out triggers. What makes me want to go in and eat something, or go in and I don't know, just and I get angry. I get horribly angry. This morning I was irritated at something, and raising my voice, and so I'm just wondering, am I the only one that just feels like you're in this stream, and you're just you're swimming forward, but you're slowly going backwards. It's like you keep trying all of these things, and I mean, I don't know how many times I've listened to the same kind of stuff that you're presenting.
Uh-huh.
And it seems like it goes in one ear and out the other, maybe this way. But yeah, that's it's just a comment, and I guess the solution is just to keep after it, and hopefully at someday, maybe 5 minutes before I pass on to the next life, it'll all work out for me.
That's good, Johnny.
A couple thoughts I had. I sometimes have felt the same way, and every once in a while I was forced to not meditate for a long period of time. And then, as bad as it was while I was meditating, when I stopped meditating, I was a little bit more reactive. And then when I came back to the meditation, I found it really soothing. And I think possibly what could be happening, and it may not be in your case, it may have only been in mine, but the better you get at this, the more clearly you will see your reactivity.
Well, my wife made a similar comment. She said, just think how you would be if you didn't do any of this stuff.
Right. I know there are two people I've known that talked about coming home from retreats, and essentially, one in the case of going back to his colleagues at work, and the colleagues would say, go back for another retreat. You're a completely different person. Now, but from his perspective, he'd gotten relaxed. He just wasn't reactive. He didn't see himself not being reactive. And he was surprised by the comment. Another case, a woman I know the children know when she's come home and done the meditation or when she's come home and not done the meditation. They can tell the difference. And it's clearer to people around you than it may be to you. And the fact that you're frustrated by what's going on in your mind is a really good sign. Because, you know, if you get angry enough, you don't, you know, it's not that you're angry, it's that idiot out there was doing something, and you're not trying to change. It really, there's a completely different, you sound more upset that your mind's reacting than you are angry at the person and able to do that. If you have something to say to that, feel free to speak.
Yeah, you know, that probably is the case. You know, I get really irritated, you know, because I get irritated and then I get irritated that I got irritated. It's like this vicious cycle. So, never mind. I'm done. And you're on mute, by the way, Stan.
I was on mute because the phone's ringing. Okay, the call stopped, and I'm gonna put my phone on mute. And it's a political call. Okay, I hopefully I'm not mute anymore. Judy, would you like to say anything? Any questions or comments?
I'll make one comment. I like I'll make two comments. I enjoyed what you had to say today. It was interesting. And I'll make a comment about the time I tried it before. I'm looking forward to doing it again because I found it very interesting to do the RAIN, R-A-I-N, and the investigate part where you were talking about, allow and investigate. And you gave the example before about the master who wouldn't let the person talk about the problem. He just had to tell him about where it was in his body.
Yeah.
I tried to do that, although it doesn't make much sense to me, but I tried it. And then when I would just kind of free float and see if any part of my body would come to mind. And then I would have it talk to me. Like if this part, was saying something, what would they say? And it was very interesting, things that I wouldn't have, I think, just come up with had I just been sitting there musing about my problems. And anyway, I thought that was interesting. Like if it was, pain in my elbow, I kind of became the elbow, and the elbow had a little set to with me or talked about what was on its mind.
And how was that helpful?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it came up, things came up, ideas about whatever this trigger was, the thing that got me to analyze in the first place, things that I think I would not have thought of necessarily.
One of the things I wanted to share with you is right now, I've just completed a book by Tara Brach. She came out with a new book, Radical Compassion. And she goes over the RAIN exercise. And I found it confusing the way she did it, but it really highlights what you had to say. For me, the investigate is strictly about feeling physically, getting into your body, noticing in your elbow where the pain is, not talking to it or thinking about it. And she seems to use it in two ways. One, exactly like you're doing, is to investigate, well, why am I feeling this? What's happened? And really trying analytically, not experientially, I guess analytically is the thinking mind trying to figure out what's happening versus experientially is where do I feel it? So go ahead. Yes, have some comment, Judy?
I felt like my point was, I felt like it was getting out of the analyzing. Like sometimes I couldn't, especially feel something and let it just float around. But if I could feel a pain, or a place came to mind, I just kind of let go. I was not analyzing it. It was more like I was the trigger finger, you know, and it was just like whatever was on its mind or emotions, I listened to.
Oh. Well, it's good. I mean, but you know, the exact reason for me for that step is to get out of the thinking mind and be so focused on something else that you're not repeating or worried about whatever that thought was. I assume it kind of relaxed you when you shut down the thinking mind, or am I wrong? What did happen?
I'll try again and maybe I'll get it. Like I say, I didn't really, it was hard for me to identify a place that was associated with whatever trigger I had. So I'll try it again.
Okay. And in this integrate and body, I'd still appreciate you going in and try it. I don't have rain in here. And if you enjoy doing rain instead, substitute rain. Okay. Okay. Thank you. John Palmer, go ahead. I said I'd give you time. Did you? I'm not sure you got a chance to look at your. If there's anything else you want to say.
Well, I did on the training wheels and all that we on the lesson was and talking about emails, opening them in the morning, opening up your emails, and why are you opening them up? I had never thought through that, but that was an interesting thought process. But then at the end, wherever it is, go ahead and look at it if you want to. I thought that was an interesting analysis of getting grounded on the training wheels. And that made a lot of sense to me after reading it. That you can self-analyze why did I do this, because I'm angry or because I'm anxious or I have to do it out of pressure that I've got to get an answer in as quickly as possible, or whatever it is. I just think that was self-analysis of yourself as to why you're doing things, whether it's emails or any other task that you might have before you.
I actually think there are two parts to it. Is one, if you can really identify the trigger, you know, if you keep watching for the trigger, then it helps you to intellectually understand that. But the rain is probably not necessarily what was the trigger, but where do I, you know, the trigger may have been a sense of hunger, and what does the sense of hunger feel? The integrate was where you wind up actually feeling it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, it's I don't know, it kind of gives you a sense of, you got to think these things through is really where of course, we've talked about thinking things through many times in our careers that we've worked in past years.
Yeah.
But it still holds true today, whether you're working or being at home with your spouse or whoever you're home with.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
Anybody else have any comments they'd like to add? Okay, what I'd like to do is go through a short loving kindness guided meditation. This is an aspirational practice. And John Palmer, when I'm done, what I'd like to do with you is I'll end the meeting, you sign off, and then stay on my iPhone and I'll talk you through getting on. I think I know what step you did wrong that caused the problem.
Okay.
And I might be able to guide you through it and see it.
All right.
There's a choice you have when you join. And I think that may be the problem you had.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll be happy to get that solved.
So stay on the phone and I'll talk you through it. Okay?
I'll stay on the phone when we close out.
Okay. And if you feel comfortable, sit in an erect and dignified posture. Breathe long, slow, and deep. And now what I'd like you to do is provide some loving kindness to you. Everybody in this class has had difficult problems that they've had to deal with, challenges of sickness, financial, or things that have come up from COVID. And just wish yourself peace, happiness, contentment, and joy. Or in your own words, may I be healed. May I be happy. May this pain in my leg go away. Whatever's bothering you, wish yourself well. And if you'd like to, you may want to put your hand on your heart or hold yourself, or just imagine yourself being embraced by someone that you love dearly, a parent, a grandparent, and just really feel loved. And now, in your own mind, think about everybody else that's in the call one by one, part of our fellowship group. And one by one, in your own way, wish everyone peace, happiness, contentment, and joy. If you can, picture them. It's okay to look at the screen if you'd like to remember everyone. And one by one, think of all the people we've met in this discussion group and wish them well. And now wish peace, happiness, contentment, and joy to everyone in the whole world. It is possible that when you open up your heart and just wish others well, it really has an impact. If you wake up each morning and think about the people you're going to meet throughout the day, and just spend a minute with each one of them in your mind, smiling at them, wishing them well, notice how it'll change your inner reactions. It really does help bring people together to, from the deepest part of your heart, wish them well. And I want to thank everyone for their kind attention and wish you well. And I'll end with a little quote. To a true Zen student, every day is a fortunate day. Time passes, but he never lags behind. Neither glory nor shame can move him. I want to thank everybody for their kind attention. I wish you all the best, and I hope we all get through this epidemic in good health, and we can weather this storm. Again, thank you very much. Right, thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Have a good week.
Yeah, I'm going to end the session, and John, end your session, and then stay on the phone, and I'll talk to you. Okay.